Affordability for buying a home is at an all-time low. And a lot of people are saying, well, will homes ever be affordable again? It's a valid question. It really is. Because some people right now are saying, well, if prices come down, it'll be more affordable. Or if rates come down, it'll be more affordable. Or both. Or there could be other factors that might need to change in order to help affordability. We're going to talk through all that today. What's up, everybody? Mark Cannon, your local realtor here in the Phoenix area. If you find value in these videos, like it, share with your friends. I'd appreciate it, but let's get right into it. So affordability obviously is not there right now in the housing market. It's not. So I'm going to do a screencast today. I'm going to show you a bunch of different things. There's some articles JP Morgan Chase came out with and some other things that I'm going to share with you guys, just kind of go over some data and talk through about affordability. But the first thing we'll actually look at, so let me move my screen. So the first thing we're going to look at is just, okay, if interest rates change. Now, I'm not really going to talk about prices coming down because a lot of people were expecting, oh, the market's going to crash, all this stuff. It didn't happen, right? It's not happening. Prices has held in most markets. Now, I'm not going to say every market because, again, real estate is local, not national. People talk on a national scale, okay? We're talking, local here in Phoenix. Market definitely has not crashed. Not even close. So we're going to talk interest rates. What happens if they change? So we're going to just use a basis of $450,000. Let's say you're putting $10,000 down. So you are borrowing $405,000, all right? That's your mortgage. So we're going to talk through what that looks like. So just real quick. So, again, if you guys want this, I can share it with you. Let's say interest rates are at 7% right now. So all in, $450,000, you're paying about $3,000 a month. That's with taxes and stuff like that. So with your premiums, PMI, all that stuff, it's all included. So $3,000 a month around $405,000 mortgage. That's 10% down. Now, obviously, it'll be a little bit more. If you put 5% down, the less you put down, the more you'll be borrowing. But let's say interest rates come down to 6%. It comes down about $300. So it's about $300 every time you lower a percentage point. So around $300, not exact, but around $300 every time you lower a percentage point. So let's say you could get your interest rate to 5%. Wow. Okay, that's $600 lower than it is now. Interest rates could help, and it depends on what where you are financially, right? So I always tell everyone, I encourage everyone to stay under 30% of your monthly income, your net monthly income, under 30% on your home expenses, just so that way you have the financial flexibility to do what you need to. Can you survive if you go more than that? Sure, but there are risks to that, and we can talk through more of that later, watch some other videos on that. But if you're trying to stay under 30%, now you have to compare, okay, what am I paying now for rent, all that stuff. So if you get down to 5%, a lot of people may say that is affordable. So something to think about, but we're going to move into kind of the next segment of affordability, which we're going to kind of look through some different statistics. Okay, so two more things that we're going to talk about real quick. So we'll talk about one of the projections. I got this off Personal Finance, Business Insider. So they're talking about projections for mortgage rates in 2024. Right? So one of the things they're projecting, and I'm showing it here, they're saying Q1 all the way to Q4 next year. Mortgage Bankers Association says it's going to come down to 6.1%. Fannie Mae says 7.1. National Association of Realtors, shocker, says 6.3. Shocker that the realtors are the ones that are very optimistic. And again, I'm more bearish on this stuff because I want to see inflation come down first. If politics don't play into this and they do it the way they should, they're going to wait for inflation to come down. And then they're going to start slowly lowering rates. Right now we're in the low sevens, so low to mid sevens. So it's one of those that they are starting to bring it down a little bit. But again, people think it's just going to drop. No, they're not just going to drop rates. They shouldn't do that for the economy's sake because they need to curb inflation and not encourage spending in that way. Anyway, I won't get too far into that. But when we see these projections, they're projecting we'll have lower interest rates next year. Okay, that's good for a lot of people to hear. The other thing that I wanted to share was just the median household income. So the median household income, according to this website, which is the Census Bureau, is saying it's about $74,580, and that's nationally. For Phoenix, we're just under that. I believe we're just over $73,000 as a median income. So it's one of those that we're pretty close to this number. So it's like, okay, that's a good number to at least see, so we know what the median is. Right? And I will do another video actually breaking down, okay, let's say you make the median, what can you afford to buy? So I will do another video on that, but I at least wanted to share this data so you could at least see it. Okay, so now we're going to go over the JP Morgan Chase article, and we're going to do a screencast for that. So let me share my screen here. All right, There we go. I'm a little bit smaller. But so anyway, so it starts off with saying, when will the crisis in U.S. housing affordability end and how? Now, I am not going to read this entire thing for you. I will put the link in the description and for the other articles as well. So please go read it because it's actually a good read. It doesn't take real long. And again, I always take a grain of salt with everything. Everything I see, I'm like, okay, well, we'll see. But they actually give some decent stats. There are a couple numbers I may dispute, but it's fine. Like overall, it's a pretty good article on where they think things are going. Again, it's a projection. So no one has a crystal ball. No one knows everything on how it's going to happen. So one of the things they show, and they have some charts and different things in here. And one of the things they actually talk about in this section is, and they're spot on with this, is, people always thought it's going to crash. We know it's not going to happen. Go watch my other videos. Crash isn't coming because guess what? With high interest rates, buyers have been suppressed a little bit, but even more so, sellers have been suppressed. We have an inventory issue. That is the problem. So we're not going to see prices come skyrocketing down. And right now, hopefully, we're not going to see interest rates dive. Now, everybody's like, what do you mean, hopefully? Again, when it comes to inflation and all these different things, I'm not going to go too deep into this, but we don't want the interest rates to come diving down because then inflation will continue to rise. We don't want that. So it sounds like in this article, they expect interest rates to stay higher around the 6 to 7% mark for until the middle to end of next year. Okay. That's good to hear that that's what they're thinking. And they're saying, because sellers aren't going to come back in the market until interest rates are lower. Now, whether that's at 6% or not, I don't know. I would expect it needed to be lower than that, but we'll have to see. But they do some things, and they're talking about affordability. How long is it going to take? They say it's going to take 3.5 years for homes to be affordable again. And we all go, what? 3.5 years? So their basic premise of this article is, okay, based off, they have two premises. All right. One is if interest rates stay the same where they are now, and we continue to have income growth at the same level, in 3.5 years, we will reach that. Now, it could be faster than that, and that's where the second premise they have is, all right, let's say interest rates come down about 1 percentage point and income continues to rise. All right, that's where we'll do it a little bit faster in 3.5 years for affordability. There'll be some other charts I'll share with you, but that's kind of the basic premise of what they're saying. Again, they are guessing somewhat because we don't have control of all that stuff. So they do talk about how they don't expect a recession and how, they're, because one of the big things that could affect the market is if tons of people lose their jobs, right? But that they don't think that's what's coming. So again, no one knows. But for them, that's what they're kind of going off of. So this is that index where they're saying 3.5 years. So this blue line right here is if interest rates fall 1% and then income continues to rise. And the other one is if it doesn't come down 1%. So more than like I would think that interest rates will come down, 1 percentage point. But again, we don't know. We don't have control of that. But based on a lot of the stuff I'm reading, sounds like it. So some of the stuff they go through, and this is actually really interesting. So they talk about, I need to make myself a little bit smaller. They have 4 different categories: boom, bust, no boom, but still a bust, boom, no bust, no boom, no bust. And they put different cities in different categories. And I'll show you the chart here that they have. So this is where I disagree with a little bit of their numbers. I'm not sure. They're not saying on a yearly basis. They're saying from the peak of prices, here's how far places have fallen. So they say Phoenix is right around 8%, give or take. And I think that's a little high. For me, I thought we were low. Based on some of the numbers I've seen, I didn't think we were that high. I thought we were probably closer to like 5%, but it's fine. So in this category, like Phoenix is right here. You see where, boom, no bust over here. You have no boom, no bust over here. No boom, bust right here. Boom, bust over here. So Phoenix is kind of in the middle between boom, no bust and boom, bust. And I actually probably would agree with that. I would say we're probably closer to boom, no bust. Because for Phoenix, right, we haven't seen a sharp decline. Now, have we had declines last year and this year? Yeah, at certain times we have. Like at the end of last year, we had a decline. Then at the beginning of this year, we rose. And then here near the end of the year, we've started declining again. So it's one of those, to me, it's kind of cyclical. We're just kind of going up and down. And I think that 8% number is kind of high. But, I would think we're like over here somewhere, but close enough. But then one of the things they go over, and they are right. Affordability is different by city and area. Obviously, if you live out in the middle of nowhere, it's going to be more affordable. If you live in cities and a metro, yeah, it's going to be more expensive. So this is where they talk about, okay, where do we think houses will become more affordable in different cities, right? So let's take Phoenix, for example. They're saying if mortgage rates don't change, but the income continues to rise, that Q4 of 2029, All right, so that's in like, what, 5 years? That's when it'll be more affordable. But if interest rates come down 1% and we continue to grow at that rate, quarter one of 2028, so 4 years, just over the average of 3.5. Okay. So it's one of those, again, these are projections based off of this limited things. Now, what happens if interest rates come down 1.5%, 2%? That could change that number even faster. And this will be shown in some of their charts. Actually, I don't remember where that chart is. There was another chart I was going to show you. But it's one of those that with where affordability is in Phoenix, you're seeing a lot of stuff where it's like, okay, I know where it is. Hold on. It was up here at the beginning. This chart right here, bear with me, sorry. We saw really affordability after 2000, what was that, 9? After the crash, right? Affordability was really high because interest rates were super low. So it was super affordable. And then obviously we come here, 2022 is when it started going down. Okay, inflation, high interest rates, we see that. So I was wishing this went all the way back to the 80s because I wanted to see, when the 80s was tough, what that looked like, but they didn't have that. But one of the cool things is they do talk about is new construction, because the biggest problem we have in real estate is inventory, right? And so we need to be building more inventory. So Phoenix is a very hot city. I've done other videos where I talk about the U.S. Census Bureau expects us to be growing at 50,000 people a year, which is nuts. So if you look at this, and this is based on new builds being built. So here's like cost of living. So Phoenix is lower on the scale. Obviously, like San Fran, Seattle are really high, obviously. Phoenix is here, and then this number is showing how fast they're giving permits for new builds, and we're doing fairly well with that. And we are building. Now, granted, they're not building in the main part of Phoenix. It's on the outskirts, Surprise, Waddell, Buckeye, stuff like that. That's where they're building, maybe down in Chandler, Mesa. But what they're saying is, hey, new builds is the way that we're going to get there. And again, I encourage you to read this article because it is really interesting because, okay, it could go a lot of different ways, but they're just trying to project and say, hey, it can be affordable again. It's just going to take time. So it is a good thing to read. And listen, no one has a crystal ball. Again, no one knows what's going to happen. So many different things could happen. But if you have more questions about this, let me know. I would love to help you however I can. I know there's a lot of information, but for me, I'm just trying to be a resource, trying to help you guys make the best decision possible. Because again, it's not about a sale or you just buying or selling right now. It's about making sure that everything that is done is what's best for you. So my information is below. I'd hope you'd reach out if you do have questions or if you want to talk further on this. Guys, you've been listening to The Real.